All right, so if you've been looking into natural ways to boost your health, chances are you've heard of these two giants, ashwagandha and maca. I mean, they're practically everywhere you look in the supplement world. But what's the real story? What does the science actually say? Well, today, we're going to put them head-to-head in a proper scientific showdown for male vitality.
But before you even think about picking one, you've got to ask yourself a really important question. What's your main goal here? Are you trying to directly boost your testosterone, or is it more about cranking up your libido and energy levels? Believe me, that question is everything, because ashwagandha and maca, well, they take completely different roads to get you where you want to go.
So here's what we've got on tap. We'll start by looking at their two very different paths to vitality. Then we'll dive deep into ashwagandha and its connection to stress. After that, we'll solve the big mystery around maca and libido. And of course, we'll get into the practical stuff, how they work together, dosages, safety, and wrap it all up with the final verdict.
Okay, let's jump right into our first section, two paths to vitality. We're going to get the lay of the land here and see what these two herbs are all about.
So, in one corner, you've got ashwagandha. This is an ancient herb, a real cornerstone of Ayurvedic medicine. Its whole claim to fame is that it's an adaptogen. Basically, it helps your body deal with stress. And in the other corner, we've got maca. It's actually a root vegetable from way up in the Peruvian Andes, and for centuries, it's been used as food to just, boost energy and stamina. So right off the bat, you can see we're talking about two totally different players here.
And that word, adaptogen, is so important for understanding ashwagandha. It's kind of in the name, right? It helps your body adapt to whatever stress is being thrown at it. It does this by tweaking hormones and your immune system to keep everything in balance. You could almost call it ashwagandha's superpower. Now maca, it's not an adaptogen. It plays a completely different game.
Which leads us perfectly into our next section, ashwagandha, the stress solution. And yeah, we're calling it the indirect path to higher testosterone. Stick with me, and you'll see exactly what I mean.
Okay, so here's the core concept you need to get. Stress is a testosterone killer. It's that simple. When you're constantly stressed out, your body just floods itself with cortisol. And here's the thing about cortisol and testosterone. They're like two ends of a seesaw. When cortisol goes up, testosterone almost always goes down. But here's where it gets interesting. A major clinical trial showed that guys taking ashwagandha saw their cortisol levels drop by a massive 25%. That's not a small number. That's a huge deal. And what happens when you slash that testosterone-crushing cortisol? Well, you clear the runway for testosterone to take off. And the data backs this up. Another key study found that men taking 600 milligrams of ashwagandha every day saw their T levels climb by an average of 17%. The connection is undeniable. You lower the stress, you support the testosterone, it's a clear positive effect.
All right, let's switch gears and talk about our other contender. Section 3 is all about maca, and we're calling it the libido mystery. You see, maca gets thrown around with all these crazy nicknames like Peruvian Viagra, and everyone just assumes it boosts testosterone. But our job today is to cut through all that hype and look at the cold, hard, human evidence.
You know what? Let's just rip the Band-Aid off right now. Based on a ton of research, here's the bottom line. Maca is awesome for libido, for mood, for energy, but it does not raise testosterone. I'm going to say that again because it's probably the biggest myth about this stuff. The human studies are crystal clear on this.
And what's crazy is just how consistent the science is. You look at the human trials, one study wanted to boost libido. Yep, sexual desire went up, but testosterone and luteinizing hormone, or LH, no change. Another one looked at fertility. Cool, sperm count and motility improved, but again, T and LH didn't budge. They even studied it in postmenopausal women and found it reduced anxiety, but guess what? It didn't mess with their key hormones. So the benefits are absolutely real, but the way it works has nothing to do with jacking up testosterone.
So you're probably asking, well, how does it work then? That's the million-dollar question. It seems like maca interacts with our whole endocrine system in a really complex way, but its libido-boosting magic seems to happen completely separately from testosterone. Scientists think these unique compounds in maca, called macamides, might actually be talking to our body's endocannabinoid system. Yeah, the same one involved in mood and pleasure. So it's like it's hitting the desire and energy buttons directly.
Now, here's where things can get a little confusing, and it's a super important point. If you look at studies done on rats, you actually do see a little bump in testosterone. But, and this is a huge but, those results have just never ever shown up in human trials. It's a classic case of what happens in a lab rat not translating to humans. When it comes to maca and testosterone in people, the science just isn't there.
Okay, so we've waded through the science. Now let's get practical. What does all this mean for you, right now? That brings us to Section 4, Synergy, Dosage, and Safety. This is your user's guide.
Let's just break it down, head to head. You want to increase testosterone? The science says ashwagandha is your guy. No contest. You want to boost libido and energy? Maca is the clear champion there. And if you're looking to crush stress, that's ashwagandha, all day long. See? They're not rivals, they're specialists.
And this leads to, honestly, the most important takeaway of this whole thing. It's not about choosing one or the other. The real magic happens when you combine them. Think of it like this. Ashwagandha lays the foundation by tackling stress and supporting your hormones. Then maca comes in and builds on that foundation by directly firing up your libido and energy. They work together. It's a powerful 1-2 punch for male vitality.
So what does that actually look like on a daily basis? Well, here's a sample plan. For ashwagandha, you're looking at about 300 to 600 milligrams a day. Since it has a calming effect, taking it with food or maybe before bed is a good move. And you'll want to look for quality extracts like KSM-66 or Sensoro. Then for maca, the dose is quite a bit higher, more like 1,500 to 3,000 milligrams. It gives you a nice energy boost, so definitely take that one earlier in the day. Oh, and for guys specifically, studies show black maca is the way to go for things like fertility and stamina.
Now, what about side effects? The good news is, both of these are known for being really safe for most people. With ashwagandha, you might feel a little drowsy or get a bit of an upset stomach, but that's about it. And maca, even milder. Maybe some gas or bloating, or you might have trouble sleeping if you take it too close to bedtime. But generally, they're super well tolerated.
Okay, but safety first, always. And there are a few situations where you need to be careful. For ashwagandha, if you have hyperthyroidism, that's an overactive thyroid, or if you're taking any kind of sedatives, you should stay away. And for maca, some of its compounds can act a bit like estrogen, so if you have any hormone-sensitive conditions, things like breast cancer or endometriosis, it's best to avoid it. And look, this goes without saying, but always talk to your doctor first.
All right, that brings us to the home stretch. Let's wrap this all up. Section 5, the final verdict. Which one is actually right for your goals?
Let's boil it all down. If your #1 mission is supporting your testosterone by getting a handle on stress, the evidence is crystal clear. Ashwagandha is your answer. It's the undisputed champ for that goal. But if what you're really after is a direct boost in sex drive, stamina, and just overall energy, then maca is hands down the better tool for that specific job.
And that really brings us to the final big idea here. The point of this whole showdown wasn't to find one single magic bullet for male vitality, it's to show that different goals need different tools. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Is optimizing your health really about chasing that one perfect supplement, or is it about creating a smart, strategic stack that's built specifically for you?
And just a quick reminder, everything we talked about today is for educational purposes only. This is not medical advice. Please always talk to a qualified healthcare professional or your doctor before you start any new supplement or health plan. Thanks for tuning in to Optimal You.